was left with the unfortunate situation or scenario of having to bury my grandfather this week. That's my pop on my mom's side, my mom's dad. I have two wonderful grandfathers. Of course, my pop Mitchell on my mom's side was the first to go. And my pop on my dad's side, dad's father, he has pretty late stage dementia. So he's been kind of out of touch with the real world for a few years now. But I realized that I wasn't doing much grieving or mourning or anything like that. And I think when I come to realize, a lot of the reason is because I keep busy. That's one of the things I do, and that's one of the ways I handle this, whether it's the best way or not. I just don't stop. That day that I found out, of course it was saddening, but I jumped right back into my work. I was back out in the shop. I started a batch of knives that day, and even though I might not be proud of that, it worked for me getting through the situation. I just didn't stop. It wasn't until the day of the funeral, when I was forced to come out of my comfort zone and head to the church for the funeral, that it really hit me, and I started to feel some of those emotions that are associated with grief. So I mentioned just maybe a couple of weeks ago in a video that I was considering starting a podcast. I wasn't sure, if you remember, some of you guys that were watching, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about because I cover so many different things on the channel. I wasn't sure what direction I was going to head or what format, but it hit me actually while I was sitting in Pop's funeral a few days ago, and that is to start a series called Lessons of My Grandfather. And that's going to be a bit of both story time, and I'm going to take the opportunity to tell you guys some fun stories that I remember about my grandparents and my grandfathers primarily. And also to talk about a lot of the things that I've learned and things that have been passed down to me and the things about me that are because of my grandfathers. Of course, a lot of people play roles in your lives, but this is kind of going to focus on my grandfathers. Now, one of the things I remember prominently about both my grandfathers is that they both always worked. Both very hard-working men. My pop on my dad's side worked for quite a number of years in Ontario, which I guess wasn't overly hard work, but still always worked. And even when he retired and moved back here to Newfoundland, I remember Pop never stopping. And I've heard my dad say that as well. Pop Noseworthy just never stopped moving. Even, a decade or two after he retired, he was still up with the sun, breakfast, eat, and heading outside, whether that was working around the property there, or cleaning up, or picking at some of his bikes, or whether he was in the woods cutting firewood. He absolutely loved to cut firewood in the woods. He just never stopped working, always had to be doing something. My pop Mitchell, who just passed away, I think very much the same. I wasn't quite as close with my pop Mitchell as I was with my pop Noseworthy, but I remember pop Mitchell always being the same, always at something, ran a lot of different businesses throughout his life, from convenience stores. I believe he had multiple different convenience stores, to a restaurant, big into heavy equipment and machinery all his life, and he had his own loader, front-end loader, and dump truck and everything, where he would haul a lot of gravel, and he would take the snowplow contracts and stuff in the winters. Just always worked, and a very skilled worker as well. Did a good job, did good work, and just two busy, hard-working men. And that's something that I think has strongly been passed down to me. I know my dad has always been a hard worker. He went through some periods of sickness, but almost all of my growing up, especially my older years, I can remember Dad being gone away to work. Of course, we live in a small outport community here, so there's not a lot of work around. So Dad was gone for a lot of my junior high school years, away working. You take fly-out jobs, you fly home for a break, and you do the same thing again. My brother is the same way, just works all the time. And I think these are concepts that were passed down from my grandfathers, just that a man should work. And I know that might be controversial to some of you guys, for sure. But of course, women should keep busy and work as well. But a man should work. That's biblical. And I believe there are so many practical and rational reasons for that as well, like most of the things that I find in Scripture, but that's a topic for another day. Anyways, that I believe has been instilled in me as well. Even though I don't have a typical job, even though I don't leave and go away from the home all the time, I still have that desire, that principle in me that I'm always working. As soon as I get out of bed in the morning, I start, and I usually don't really stop until I go to bed in the night. It's become, like I said, probably a bit of a crutch in how I deal with certain situations. And it causes some problems of its own as well that you have to watch out for. The issue of me working too much has certainly come about in my marriage. But yeah. That's just a little bit of background, a little start to this podcast. And you men out there, if you're not busy, young men even younger than myself, if you're not busy, if you're not working, I strongly advise you to get at it. Find things to do. If you don't have a job, if there isn't a paid job for you to go to right now, it doesn't matter. Just keep yourself busy and work. And I truly believe you'll live a much happier life and you'll deal with a lot less issues if you do put yourself to work at something, if you do keep busy. Thank you for watching this video. Hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel if you're first time here. I hope you liked this series. I hope you enjoy what's coming up. I'm just out here today, just enjoying the quiet, peaceful weather, but I'm heading back to the workshop right now, and I'll spend the rest of my Saturday, that's the day here, I'll spend the rest of my Saturday in the shop working. So thank you again for watching. Leave me a comment if there's anything you'd like me to talk about. And we'll see you in the next video.
Right on.